The rain hadn't started yet, but the sky over Fairgrove was heavy with it. That thick, quiet kind of gray that made the air feel like wet wool. Inside a clean, modest two-bedroom house on Sycamore Lane, Rachel Mercer poured herself a glass of Cabernet. Her hand trembled a little. She stared at the kitchen clock. 23 minutes until Jake walked through the door. Her husband. Married 5 years. And totally unaware of what was about to hit him. She didn't look like herself. Not in her usual leggings and Fairgrove high sweatshirt. She wore a deep green sleeveless top that hugged her sides just enough to feel risky. Her makeup wasn't overdone. Rachel wasn't trying to seduce him tonight. That wasn't the goal. She just wanted him off balance. Just enough. This whole thing, this night, was something she'd been working up to for weeks. Maybe months. Her friend Tessa Ramirez had been planting the seeds every time they met for coffee. Tessa was all bold lipstick and louder opinions. Ratch, you've forgotten how to feel wanted. Marriage doesn't mean invisible. You're not dead, so stop acting like you are. At first, Rachel laughed her off. But something in the words stuck. The way Jake would come home from job sites and collapse on the couch, nodding off during dinner, never looking at her the way he used to. It wasn't cruel, but it was quiet. And that silence grew like mold in the cracks. She wanted to feel alive again. To feel like someone's eyes lit up when she walked into her room. Not like background noise in her own life. So she planned this dinner carefully. His favorite lasagna was still in the oven. Garlic bread warming. The smell filling the kitchen. A bottle of red, imported, expensive, sat in a metal wine bucket she borrowed from Tessa. It wasn't about romance. It was about keeping him calm. Keeping the peace, just long enough to say it. Her phone buzzed on the counter. A text from Tessa. Tonight's the night. Be the spark, not the ashes. He'll either bend, or he'll burn. Rachel stared at the message. Something cold twisted behind her ribs. Guilt? Maybe. But she took another long sip of wine and forced it down. This was for her. She told herself that again. At 6:02, the front door creaked open. Boots hit the floor heavy. Jake stepped inside, jacket soaked from the drizzle outside, a brown bag with blueprints under his arm. His face lit up when he saw the set table. Whoa, he said. What's all this? He looked at her, really looked. The green top, her makeup, the wine. His smile faded a little. Date night? She smiled tight. Something like that. She handed him a glass. He took it, nodding slowly but watching her now. Eyebrows furrowed just slightly. You all right? I will be, she said, motioning toward the table. Sit. Eat. They ate mostly in silence. The lasagna was good, but the mood hung over the table like static. Jake chewed slower than usual. Took longer between sips of wine. His eyes drifted toward hers more than once. Halfway through the meal, she finally set her fork down and exhaled. Jake, we need to talk. He stopped mid-bite. His shoulders went stiff. What's going on? She kept her voice as steady as she could. I need something, she said. Not just from you. From life. From myself. He blinked. Okay. I felt invisible, Rachel said. Not unloved. Just unseen. Like I've disappeared into routine. Tessa says. He raised an eyebrow before she could finish. Tessa says? That woman thinks Instagram quotes are therapy. She reminded me life is short. Rachel pushed forward, ignoring the jab. So I've made a decision. For just a little while, just a couple months, I want to try something different. Jake leaned back slowly. His eyes narrowed, wine glass frozen in his hand. What kind of different? Her throat went dry. She forced it out. I want to see other people. The glass didn't drop. He didn't yell. Just paused. Are you asking for a divorce? No, she said quickly. No, I want us to stay married. Just temporarily open. I want to explore. Then come back. Stronger. Jake didn't speak. Just stared at her, quiet and still. Then he nodded. Once. Slowly. So you want permission to cheat? She winced. It's not betrayal. It's... Don't, he said, voice calm. Don't spin this into empowerment. Call it what it is. Rachel's voice dropped to a whisper. I need this. For me. Jake stood up. Not in anger, but with the kind of cold purpose that made her feel smaller than she expected. Then I'll sleep in the guest room tonight. Wait, just like that? You're not even going to talk about it. What's left to say? He asked. You've already made your choice. I thought maybe you'd. What? Compete? He asked, his smile dark and brittle. You want to stir up chaos, Ratch? Don't expect me to stand still in the storm. Without another word, he turned and walked down the hallway. The guest room door clicked shut behind him. And Rachel stood there, alone, glass in hand, heart pounding, too stunned by his composure to realize what she'd just lit. Rachel didn't sleep that night. She lay alone in the king-sized bed, staring at the ceiling while the ceiling fan ticked slowly above. No sound came from the guest room. No creaking floorboards. No sighs. Jake was either stone still in there or had left the house entirely without her noticing. She thought she'd feel free, liberated, maybe even turned on by the drama of it all. But all she felt was pressure, like the air in the house had thickened somehow, gotten heavier. Still, by morning, the guilt had faded, dulled by adrenaline and Tessa's late-night pep talk over FaceTime. He didn't explode? That's perfect, Tessa had said, lighting a cigarette like she was coaching someone before a cage match. That means he's playing stoic. He'll stew. Then he'll realize you're still hot as hell and come crawling back. Rachel wanted to believe that Jake's silence meant he was realizing her value, that this wasn't betrayal, just temporary liberation. A woman remembering she was more than her husband's routine. At work the next day, Fairgrove Mutual Insurance, 3rd floor, everything felt strangely alive. The lights a little brighter, the jokes a little sharper. She wore a dress she hadn't worn in years, black with little white flowers. Her heels clicked confidently against the hallway tile. The whispers started before noon, and that's when Noah Brandt texted her. He was a consultant, worked upstairs in analytics. Quiet, kind, smart in the soft-spoken, listens more than he talks kind of way. Their paths crossed often, but they'd never really flirted before. You looked radiant in the hallway this morning. Rachel's fingers hovered above her phone. Just a thank you? A smiley? Something safer? She chose bold. Maybe I dress up for you now. The reply came quick. Then I'll take that as an invitation. It moved fast after that. Drinks the next evening. Dinner the night after. Noah said all the things Jake hadn't said in years. He noticed her perfume, her earrings, the way she curled her hair. He didn't just want her, he studied her. Meanwhile, Jake stayed cold, quiet, distant. No yelling, no pleading, no confrontation. Just watching. Jake Connolly wasn't a man of many words. He built things for a living, literal things. Remodels, custom decks, insulation. His world made sense because it followed patterns, blueprints, angles, physics. And now, his wife had introduced chaos. But Jake didn't panic. He watched her, watched the shift. He noticed how her morning routine changed. Different perfume, new passwords, how she'd hover near her phone like it was a landmine, how her showers got longer, her phone calls shorter. Rachel thought his silence meant weakness, a man out of moves. She had no idea he was already building something. One Thursday afternoon, she came home earlier than usual and found Jake in the garage. He was hunched over something: cords, wires, a small laptop open beside a wooden box. He slammed the lid shut when he heard the door. She forced a smile. Still working late out here? He grunted, wiping his hands on a rag. Helps me think. He didn't look at her. That cold calm hadn't changed. But now there was something else in his eyes: distance. Not rage. Not sadness. Calculation. Rachel paused in the doorway. You know this is only for a little while, right? She asked. I'm not trying to destroy us. Jake finally looked at her. His eyes were flat but glowing, like fire behind tinted glass. You already did. She didn't reply. Just stepped back inside. Closed the door. Days passed. Then weeks. Rachel's nights with Noah got bolder. Dinner turned into sleepovers. Office flirtation turned into hidden backseat rendezvous. One under pouring rain that left them breathless and laughing in his parked car like teenagers. She felt wanted again. Maybe even reborn. But shadows always follow the flame. She started to notice things. Brenda from HR stopped saying good morning. A sticky note appeared on her desk one morning with no signature. 3 words, all caps. Be careful who's watching. Rachel brushed it off as jealousy. Office gossip. Until Tessa called her in a panic. Ratch, I think something's happening. Rachel stepped out of her meeting. What do you mean? I got a weird call. Someone's asking questions. Digging into us. Into what we've been doing. Rachel's blood went cold. Digging what, exactly? I don't know. But someone called my landlord. Then Miles texted me and said someone had screenshots. Ratch, this isn't just about you anymore. Rachel raced home that night, hands shaking as she unlocked her laptop. On the desktop sat a new folder. Rachel_personal. She clicked it open. Her heart stopped. Inside, screenshots of text between her and Noah. Timestamped photos. GPS logs. Even a spreadsheet labeled Encounters_confirmed_final.xlsx. She couldn't breathe. This wasn't casual spying. This was forensic. She deleted the folder in panic, breath ragged in her throat. But she knew what it meant. Jake had known. All along. At 2:17 a.m., she walked barefoot to the guest room and knocked. Jake. No answer. She pushed the door open. The bed was untouched. His truck wasn't in the driveway. And he hadn't taken clothes. Just gone. She stood in the hallway in the dark, phone shaking in her hand, the house around her suddenly too quiet. She had sparked a fire. Jake had carried gasoline. Rachel didn't hear from Jake for 2 days. No texts. No calls. No angry voicemails. Just silence. The kind of silence that makes the house itself feel like it's holding its breath. She paced. Checked the driveway every 20 minutes. The bed stayed empty. The closet still half full. His toothbrush still in the holder. But he was gone. The third morning, a letter arrived. Hand-delivered. No postage. No return address. She opened it at the kitchen counter, heart pounding like a bass drum in her throat. It was a single sheet. Plain white paper. Neatly typed. Rachel, I won't stand in your way. But understand this. Freedom is never free. Watch carefully now. Jake. She read it 3 times. Her hands went clammy. What the hell did that mean? She called Tessa. No answer. Noah didn't text back either. Just the spinning read, receipt, and then nothing. Her calls went straight to voicemail. She opened Instagram. Checked his profile. Gone. Then her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered with a cracked voice. Hello. This is Officer Deming with the Fairgrove Police Department. Is this Mrs. Mercer? Yes. We've received a report involving a vehicle registered to your husband, Jacob Connolly. It was found abandoned out near Hillside Creek, roughly 10 miles from your residence. It appears it was dumped intentionally. Her knees nearly gave out. What? Jake's truck? That's impossible. It's... No, ma'am. That was his work truck. Not stolen. He informed us yesterday it would be left there. He's accounted for. Her mouth opened. He's okay. Yes, ma'am. He also requested we notify you. All marital assets associated with your name are in the process of being transferred. A protection order has also been filed. You'll receive formal notice soon. Any questions will need to go through your attorney. The line went dead before she could say another word. She collapsed into the kitchen chair. The sound of the clock ticking suddenly thundered in her ears. By 3 p.m. that day, her worst fear came true. It went viral. Her name. Her face. A leaked clip. A short video uploaded anonymously to her company's internal Slack channel. Footage from a bedroom. Not graphic, but enough. Her voice. Her laugh. Noah's name. Her own bedsheets. Their marital bed. The caption? Some vows break themselves. Some break others first. She stared at the screen, mouth open in horror. She called Tessa again. This time, she picked up. Her voice was flat. Hello. He did it. What? Jake. He's not sitting back. He's burning everything. What do you mean? I got a call from my landlord. Someone sent him a file. Me and Miles. Me and Tony. Stuff I didn't even know was recorded. Rachel's throat closed. I found files on my laptop, she whispered. He's been tracking me for weeks. And leaking it, Tessa said. In pieces. Just enough to burn the edges before the whole thing catches. I just got suspended from work, Rachel whispered. Yeah, Tessa replied. Me too. HR says it's under investigation. Ethics stuff. Conflict of interest. All of it. They sat in silence over the phone for a few seconds. Then Rachel said what she'd been holding back for days. You told me this would be harmless. No. I told you it would be fun, Tessa shot back. You decided it would be harmless. That's a difference. You said men always come around. You said they love confident women. Tessa laughed bitterly. Yeah, well, Jake's not like the others. He's surgical. The next day, Rachel was summoned to the corporate boardroom. 3 people sat waiting. HR, legal, and someone from internal security. No smiles. They offered her coffee. She declined. They pushed a file across the table. It was thick. Screenshots. Calendar logs. Text messages with Noah. Emails with Tessa. Time-stamped entries into restricted office spaces. Data from her company badge. Rachel, the HR director, said quietly, we believe these represent a serious breach of conduct, policy violations, and possible misuse of internal systems. Rachel blinked at the stack. How did you get this? The legal rep answered instead. We received these from a third party. Jake. She whispered his name like a ghost. She wasn't fired. Not yet. They said they'd continue evaluating. But she didn't need to wait. She walked out of the boardroom with her knees shaking, shame pouring through her body like ice water. When she got home, her key didn't work. She tried again. Nothing. She jiggled the lock, then stepped back in horror. A row of cardboard boxes sat on the porch, taped neatly, labeled with Sharpie. Inside, her clothes, her books, her kitchen stuff, and taped to the top box, a single note. You lit the match. I simply watched it burn. Welcome to the freedom you wanted. She dropped to her knees on the welcome mat. Jake wasn't cold anymore. He was surgical. He had dismantled her life piece by piece without shouting, without fists, without a single curse word. Just precision. Just silence. She brought the boxes to Tessa's apartment that night. Tessa didn't say much. Just lit a cigarette and watched her pace the living room. Have you talked to Noah? Rachel asked. Tessa didn't look up. His wife kicked him out. Rachel froze. His what? You didn't know? He told me they were separated. Yeah, that's what men say when they want what they can't keep. Rachel sank to the floor, dizzy. Everything was crumbling. Her marriage, her job, her sense of self. Even Noah was a lie. And Jake? Jake hadn't gloated. Hadn't said a single cruel word to her since the night in the kitchen. Because he didn't need to. He let the world do the talking. The messages came faster now. Not from Jake. He stayed silent. But from everywhere else. Anonymous accounts started sharing Rachel's texts. Out-of-context flirty lines. Her photos with Noah. Even parts of the Slack video. Screenshots with captions like, "Imagine doing all this and thinking your man would wait for you." She chose chaos, and chaos chose back. It was everywhere. The cruelty didn't even shock her anymore. What stunned her was how methodical it all was. Like someone had drawn up a blueprint for her collapse and was following it line by line. Jake didn't post anything himself. He didn't comment. He didn't leak with his name attached. But it was him. She felt it in her bones. He had built a quiet, surgical machine of ruin and just turned the key. One day, a thick envelope arrived at Tessa's apartment where Rachel had been crashing. Inside, legal documents, divorce filings, asset reallocations, frozen joint accounts, credit line removals, all carried out by Camille Shore, a local attorney known for being ruthless and efficient. Rachel Googled her out of instinct. Her nickname in legal circles? The Winter Surgeon. She walked into the mediation room like a ghost. Camille sat across from her in a navy suit, perfectly composed. "You are entitled to nothing," she said, without venom. "Just finality. No car. No home. No support. We have documentation. We have intent." Rachel whispered, "But we were still married. He never told me to stop." Camille didn't blink. "He gave you the rope, Ms. Mercer. You tied the knot." The judge signed the order less than 3 weeks later. No drama. No speeches. Jake didn't even speak in court until the end. He stood up once, hands folded in front of him. Calm. Clean-shaven. Pale-eyed. "My wife didn't cheat. She quit. She wanted freedom. I gave it to her. But in that freedom, she gave me clarity. I didn't lose a wife. I lost someone who never planned to stay." The courtroom was still. Rachel couldn't cry. She wanted to. She wanted to scream, to throw a chair, to make some kind of noise that proved she was still human. But Jake? He didn't even look at her when he left. He just walked out, his boots echoing down the hall, like the matter had been settled a long time ago. That night, she checked into a roadside motel. Tiny TV. Broken heater. Orange bedspread. She stared at her phone. A single message from Tessa. "You okay?" She stared at it for 10 minutes before replying. "You said this would feel empowering. You said men crawl back. Mine lit the dam bridge on fire." Tessa didn't answer. She was dealing with her own fallout. Rumors were her husband had filed for full custody. Miles, the office fling, had moved cities. Tony had gone completely off-grid. Everything they touched turned toxic. Rachel couldn't sleep. She kept rereading Jake's final note from the box. "You lit the match. I simply watched it burn." It pulsed in her mind like a war drum. Over and over. A chant. At first, she drank to drown it out. But the silence stayed louder. Then came the job interviews. A receptionist role at a dental office. The manager smiled politely. "I'll be honest with you, Rachel," she said. "We ran a background check. We found things." Rachel nodded. "Thank you for your time." She walked out and sat on the curb, clutching her purse, staring at the cracked sidewalk. Then, one day, she drove back to the old neighborhood, just to see. Their house, no longer hers, looked different. New shutters, painted door, a fresh flower bed, like someone had wiped her away. She wasn't looking for Jake. She knew he was gone. Moved somewhere near Boone County, according to gossip. Started his own contracting firm. Some said he was dating. Others said he stayed alone. She didn't know what hurt more. Then one night, walking downtown, Rachel stumbled into a talk at the Fairgrove Book Nook, a motivational speaker discussing life after loss. She slipped into the back row, wet from rain, still shaking from another rejection email. The speaker didn't say anything new, nothing poetic, but one line hit like a sledgehammer. You can lose everything and still survive. But if you don't own your choices, you'll keep burning every bridge you cross. Accountability isn't punishment. It's the first brick in rebuilding. Rachel swallowed a breath. It felt like something cracked inside her. Not pain, not shame, just quiet understanding. The next morning, she wrote a letter. Not a plea, not an apology, just the truth. Jake, you never gave me the fight I expected. And that was the loudest pain I've ever heard. I wanted you to chase me, to yell, to hurt. But you didn't. You let me burn everything I built. You watched, and you didn't stop me. I confused attention for love. I confused chaos for liberation. I listened to someone who thrived on drama and called it empowerment. But I made my choices, and I owned them. You didn't destroy me. I did. And even in your revenge, you gave me more dignity than I gave you in betrayal. I don't expect a response. This isn't a trap. I just want to say thank you. For walking away instead of finishing me off. For reminding me that sometimes the loudest answer is silence. Rachel. She mailed it to his new business address. No return address. No expectation. Just closure. Weeks passed. Nothing came back. Until one day, while volunteering at a women's shelter as part of her court-ordered restitution, Rachel stepped outside for coffee. A pickup truck pulled into the gravel lot. Same make. Same dent above the rear wheel. She froze. Jake got out. Same boots. Same stillness. He didn't look angry or cold. Just calm. Hey, Rachel, he said, as if no war had ever happened. Rachel froze, hand still on the door of the diner's coffee stand. The air smelled like wet concrete and pine. Jake stood there, calm, hands in his jacket pockets. His eyes, not warm, not cruel, just steady. Why are you here? She asked, her voice barely holding. He nodded toward the shelter. I build things. They called me about adding a new wing. Said they needed hands. Of course they did. Jake was good at that, fixing things. Everyone always called Jake when something broke. Rachel gave a bitter little laugh. Makes sense. He stepped closer. I got your letter. Her throat tightened. I didn't expect you to respond. I wasn't going to, he said honestly. But she waited. I wanted to say something, he continued, glancing down at the gravel before looking back up. You were right. I didn't fight. Not because I didn't care. Because if I had, I wouldn't have stopped. Rachel blinked fast. The air between them felt too thin. I didn't want to become something worse, Jake added. I didn't want to let revenge change who I was. But it did, she whispered. He nodded. Yeah, for a while it did. You already got even, she said. You destroyed me. Jake shook his head. I didn't destroy you. I just let you face the mirror. The silence between them stretched, like an old wound neither could stitch shut. Are you happy now? She asked finally, trying to sound stronger than she felt. Jake looked toward the construction site. Framing beams, blue tarps. His truck full of tools. I'm healing, he said. That's better than happy. She nodded. Me too. They stood in the drizzle for a moment longer. Not lovers. Not enemies. Just two people who burned the bridge and watched each other walk into the fire. That was the last time Rachel saw him. He didn't ask for her number. She didn't ask for anything. He left with a nod, a quiet, take care, and the sound of gravel crunching beneath his boots. Weeks later, Rachel finished her volunteer hours and kept going, long after the requirement ended. She didn't post about it, didn't turn it into some kind of healing journey, social media saga. She just showed up, quiet, present. Eventually, she found part-time work at a vet clinic. Small place, no background checks. The manager didn't even own a computer. It wasn't glamorous, but it was clean, simple, honest. She lived in a studio apartment above a hardware store. Paid cash. Cooked cheap meals. The online mobs moved on, as they always do. The noise died down. But the silence that followed was the real punishment. One night, she found the note Jake left on the box. You lit the match. I simply watched it burn. Welcome to the freedom you wanted. She didn't cry. She just stared at it, then folded it carefully and tucked it in the back of a drawer. Not as a keepsake, but as a reminder that freedom wasn't supposed to come at the cost of everything. That chaos has a receipt. Jake, he didn't talk about Rachel. Not to friends. Not to clients. Not to anyone. He worked, built out 3 community centers, expanded his business, hired a couple of new guys, focused on framing, poured concrete, drove hours to haul materials himself. He went home alone, cooked his own food, watched the weather. Sometimes, at night, he'd think of her. Not angrily, just clearly. He remembered the way she laughed when she was nervous, the way she used to paint her nails and hum to herself when she folded laundry. He didn't miss the betrayal. He didn't miss the lies. But he missed the version of her that used to look at him like he was enough. The version that existed before things broke. He didn't chase it, didn't call her. But some nights, when the wind blew just right, and the porch light flickered the way it used to, he'd sit out back with a beer and think. She could have just talked to me. That's all it would have taken. Rachel. Years passed. No love story replaced the one she broke. No grand forgiveness arrived in her inbox. But one day, sitting at the shelter she now helped run full-time, a young woman asked her quietly, "How did you survive it?" Rachel thought for a long time before answering. "I didn't," she said. "Not all of me. But the part that made the worst choices? She's gone." The woman nodded slowly. "Does it still hurt?" Rachel smiled gently. "Only when I lie to myself." That night, she walked past a hardware store and stopped out front. The same kind Jake used to take her to when they were first married. She stared at the display window. Hammers, screws, framing tools, and behind the glass, a reflection of herself. Older, wiser, scarred, but still standing. She turned and walked home alone.